So in this video, I'm going to talk about Howling Stones and Sathir's Tomb. Both of those are Tier 2 Ring of Scale zones. If you're already familiar with those zones, you're not going to get anything out of this video. What I suggest is, and you can do this for any new zone really, is you get the mercenary quests. They're usually kill quests. And since you're going into those zones and going to be killing mobs anyways, it's well worth getting them. It'll get you a little extra experience. It'll get you some progression done. In this case, for Howling Stones, you get the kill quests from Indicatrix Winters. Now, you're not going to find her on your find list. If you hit find, she doesn't show up as one of the quest mobs. You just kind of have to know where she is or track to her. But she is in the outpost for over there. And basically, you come up from the docks and head left a bit, and you'll find her out here. A tiny little wench with 3 quests, of which she will annoyingly only give you one of those quests. And then when you've completed that, you can get the second quest, and you've completed that, you can get the third quest. That is the same way in Sathir's Tomb with the quest giver there. And in that case, the mercenary quest giver is in Sathir's Tombs proper. So we accept the quest, we get the quest, and you would do this from almost any zone you're going to do. Find out if they have mercenary quests, get those quests. Everybody in your party can get it, and you just get a little extra experience and some progression done. Then you run out to Howling Stones on your map, and you'll find that in the that big scar, the ravine, which is filled with scorpions. Use regular invisibility for this run. And as long as you avoid the dogs, you should be okay. The Chatakai dogs, because they'll often see through invisibility. Or you can roll a rogue, get Shroud of Stealth, and you just won't have to worry about it all. The scorpions make a nice, thing to hunt for experience if you're down in this area. And there is one named scorpion you can get. Dracus. And invisibility works fine here. I used to wonder about this guy. He's really only for people who raid. He gives the quest for 3 raids. And you hit this big red ball, you zone into Howling Stones. Generally people, invis to undead is the preferred invis for most mobs in Howling Stones. Double invis is better because there are mobs that see through invis, and Shroud of Stealth, of course, is helpful. There are 4 wings in Howling Stone, and 3 of these are real bridges, and the one that goes to the east is broken. So what will happen is you go up there, you'll fall down into the center. And that used to be a very scary event when this was one of the harder dungeons in Canark, and you were unfamiliar with it, and you didn't have these neat maps. What you had was hand-drawn maps. You couldn't pull it up on the screen when you're in the game to see the map. You would have these hand-drawn maps that you would put in binders, and you got them generally from EQ Atlas. or people would draw them themselves, and then you would, thumb through your binder of maps and try and figure out where you were on the map, because you didn't have these handy little green pointers and X's, and you couldn't see where your characters were. In this dungeon, there is a zone out to over there, and there are several ways to get back to the center depending on which wing you go. The zone out to over there, you would go in the east wing most directly. But, as I mentioned, the east wing has you falling to the basement. If you do fall in the basement, you're invised undead. Don't panic. You just run back up in the center, go into the blue ring, and you're popping back up. You see the bottomless gnawer. He will see through invisibility. The two mortiferous, or actually the bottomless gnawer can see through invised undead. The mortiferous golems see through invisibility, but they don't see through Shroud of Stealth. And each of these bridges to one of the wings have mortiferous golems that do see through invisibility. But you can just pull and kill those and move in if you want. Another thing is you just drop down to the basement, and this would be my first suggested campsite. There's 4 named that spawn here, and you can just come up on these this hillside. You see a campfire there. Somebody has already put a campfire because it's just a great spot to come in and get experience. There's 2 sides to the basement. The first side has 2 named in it. The Great Sentinel. Yeah, it's the Great Sentinel. And in fact, he's up. So you would clear this entire side, and it is helpful to have crowd control here. It speeds everything up, whether it's a bard, an enchanter, maybe a shaman punting mobs. Then you go on the other side, and this is going to be the Underlord, I believe. But he's not up right now, and he would spawn from this bottomless gnaw here, probably. Excuse me. Yeah, the Underlord. So then we run back down here. And usually your melee will be down here to get whatever mobs you come up with. So first we go up here, which would be usually the embalming goo will spawn here. And the embalming goo snares. So if you're a puller, you want to be aware of that, because he snares terribly, and pullers die here if they're not careful and start slowly being very cautious about how they pull this mob. So you clear this side, and then you go up the other side and just start clearing into here, and here would spawn Tormented Adalera, and she spawns maybe down here. I think from one of the Arisen Spectres. We used to, on my server, we would have a perpetual raid that would go 24/7, and you would join this raid as you killed named mobs. So it was your, a hunter achievement raid, which really I wish all servers would have a 24/7 hunter achievement raid that anybody could join, and that's how you run into people who've got all their hunter achievements. A lot of times they've been members of this type of raid, because you get credit for it. So you can be killing in one zone, somebody kills in another zone. Throughout the world of EverQuest and all the zones, people are killing named mobs, and if they're in this raid, then people are getting the achieves for that mob. So we've got the 4 wings here. I'm not going to go into all the wings. I'll head towards the south wing. The south wing leads to Sathir's Tomb, and it has its own selection of named. And you can also, by going through the south wing and working your way through it, you can make your way to the east wing and zone out to over there if you want to. When this dungeon was, the original Canark dungeon, not being able to zone out was... I love this picture. Isn't it beautiful? And also be aware of carpets here, because a lot of them are trapped. So you just drop down here. You're invis to undead. Most of the time, there will only be mobs that don't see through invis to undead. Occasionally, you'll have to be ready to rock and roll. And you just work your way through here, however you're going to do it. But anyways, in the old days, you might not have the filter of translocation. I mean, if you did not have someone like a druid or a wizard to port you out, working your way to the over there zone out was a real chore, especially given that we didn't have maps and we didn't have we didn't have the in-game map function that came out in Eldon, LDON, Lost Dungeons of Norath. And the pointer came out much later. I don't remember what expansion that came in. But I'm going through here. This is a good place. I used to set up in these hallways. And there's a couple names you can pull for here. And it's relatively, you've got your wanderers. But it's a fairly safe spot to set up a group and just start pulling mobs. And now we're going to zone into Sathir's Tomb, which is one of the top grind spots that people use right now, especially in Verona Vi. There's Praetor Noctis Torg. You'll get your first mercenary kill quest from him. So I have to go unhide and sneak so that I can get the quest. I always forget that a lot of the time. Back into safe mode. I go out here. And it says you feel cursed, and I have got aggro, so something, my Shroud of Stealth did not protect me. So I spend a little time here trying to find out if any of these mobs see through Shroud of Stealth. What really happened is I think there's a trap that went off when I stepped on a certain piece of ground. I'll have to look and see if that's on the map at another time. But it cursed me, and that rendered me visible, and that's why I got aggro here. Something to be aware of. This zone also has the green mobs that have that aura unless you have done the EOK progression to get the blocker 1 and or 2. At 115, the green mobs aren't as scary as they were at 110. We could kill them at 110, but you had to be a really beefy tank. You had to be a solid group. It wasn't fun. Now it's just you pull the mob. You've got enough DPS, you burn it down, and it's usually not a problem. So you can just pull these first mobs if you want, set up around here. This is a very small dungeon. And like I said, there's usually groups here all the time. And I'm not saying any particular group is doing anything. I just know that pretty much whenever you come into this zone, you're going to find people camping mobs. So there are see-invis mobs here you have to be aware of. And this is, you see the dead bodies, this is a nice place to camp. Or, ignoring the NPC bodies, see there's a pile of corpses here. So there's a group over there killing. And like I said, this is a very small, Sathir zone is a very small dungeon. So 2 or 3 groups, really 2, can clear the entire zone. So yeah, there's a group in here killing, and then there's the other room where people set up. And this is where you're going to run into a green mob that does wander into that other room. And we've got a group here already killing too, so they're set up. As I said, this is a very popular spot. It's even at 115 you can get decent AA experience, though you'll get better AA experience at 115 in someplace like Kale Drakel or any of the Velius zones. So this was Sathir's Tomb. As I said, if you already know about Howling Stones and you already know about Sathir's Tomb, there's nothing new in this video. It's just to show you some of the features of these 2 dungeons. And I highly suggest going into dungeons for grinding out experience. You almost always get better experience in a dungeon than you do out in an open zone. Like, kill that mob, damn it. You're letting experience go on tap. They'd probably stop pulling while I'm here. Maybe not, I'm just thinking it's a possibility. But this is a good zone if you can find an open spot. You might check Pick Zone. I don't know if that's available in Sathir's Tomb, but if there's enough people in there, probably a fairly small amount of people, you're good